What's up, friends and family? My name's Danny. This is Homestead DNA, and I'm coming at you with another video on the 1st of June. It's starting to get a little warm out here. Look at that. We have some sunflowers. Amy's in there cleaning out the rabbit hutch for us, but look at these sunflowers. It's pretty crazy. It seemed like it was taking forever, but a watch sunflower never blooms. But look at these guys. Let me get my shadow out of the way here. We have picked so many Snapdragons, and they're still blooming on this end over here. They're still blooming down there too. Those were kind of an early set, and here are some really pretty. And check out these Strawflower, which are getting close to being ready. These guys are pretty cool. They're very, I don't know if you can hear that. It's just a strange, they're like paper. And so they're starting to get ready. A couple of them probably are, but there's all these different pretty colors. A little trick that I was taught by Amy, who learned, I'm sure, from somebody else, is that you know they're ready to cut when they don't wobble. This one's still wobbling. That was still wobbling too. Let's check out this guy. Nope. This guy right here. Look at that. He's ready to cut. They're starting to bloom though. Got a bunch of Bachelor Buttons that are starting to pop up over here. There's a pretty purple flower, blue purple flower. And they're just flourishing. And we've cut a bunch of them, and we're going to need to cut a bunch more. Our Shasta daisies here still haven't really bloomed a lot. They are sitting in this stage, but I think they're about to. We've cut a couple of them and they've started to open up, but they take a long time. You can see our Yarrow over here, and looks like some of our chamomile over here is doing pretty good as well. There's some starting to die back over here, but this guy's still doing good. And our eucalyptus is growing pretty well. Onto the garden, actually, we have beans here. So we planted 2 different plantings of beans, and I guess it was just too cold, or the seeds were old or something. But then our last one, everything's come up great. So, although this one came up first from the first set of seeds, so I'm gonna try to mark that one and save some seeds from it, because it seems prolific. And she's got some more yarrow planted over here. Bunch of different stuff. Just tons of flowers. She's planted some more sunflower today, and that's sunflower from weeks prior. Our dill is starting to bloom. It's kind of neat. Looks like a firework. Our okra has picked up. It looks a little rough. It's had some yellow leaves at first, but it's starting to find itself. We've still got lettuce over here that's still growing really good. Hadn't bolted or anything weird. It's still growing. You can see she's starting to plant, or about to plant, some more sunflower seeds over here. Sunflowers, I should say. And then we have our broccoli, which we had some worms on it. We picked them off for the most part. And we did one spray for them. But we're starting to get little broccoli heads. So, if things go well and it doesn't get extremely hot and they don't just decide to give up and bolt on us, then we should have a pretty good harvest of broccoli. And I think, you know, based off of our time last year as well, we got a bunch of broccoli. We've got more broccoli plants than we had last year. We've got I think we'll have more. I think we pulled like 12 pounds off for us. So maybe we'll get a little bit more than that. Celery's still doing good over here. Everything's looking beautiful. Gotta get here and get the grass out, but and then our mustard greens are really growing. Gotta get them cut and keep cutting them. Tomatoes, look at these beautiful tomatoes. Got some new ones there. These guys right here are probably our oldest ones, if you can see that. Oh, actually, I think these are the oldest ones. But they're starting to fill up, and that's what we want. We want tomatoes. So these guys are doing good, looking good. I tried a foliar application of calcium, so I'm going to see if that helps with any end rot we have. And I'm just going to keep doing that because I bought it. I don't know if it's going to do any good or work, but it's worth a shot. It doesn't really hurt anything. But look at these. Good looking tomato plants. We've got some cucumbers that have started to grow up in here. I think these are pickling varieties. Along that fence, that trellis right there, we have some more that are not pickling. There are some that are pickling, but there's a combination over there. And then we have loofah at the very end. So on the very end, on both sides, on the end, we're going to have loofah. So it's really not in our way. It's kind of at the end of the garden. But that's going to be it. We got some coleus there. And then some other kind of flower. I don't know what it is. I'm starting to learn. I'm starting to pick things up. It'll take me a year or two. Amy could tell you all this stuff. But here's our radishes that we made. And so we picked a few radishes off of here. They didn't quite. We thought maybe they would get ready before a farmer's market that we had. Wouldn't have really mattered. I don't think anybody was buying radishes. But they're a good little cover crop here for us in this little spot. But what we decided to do is actually just let them bolt. And then Amy's going to see if they work for cut flowers. You know, it's kind of just filler. They'll get little seed pods on there, and it's just something that's kind of neat. So we've got a few that are bolting. And there's still maybe some more we'll pick out of there from time to time. But check out the leaves on this, guys. Man. I'm going to pull this one out, actually. That's a gigantic radish right there. So one thing we learned with radishes, too, is that radishes are good when they're small. I don't like the bigger ones. The bigger ones get real tough and very, very earthy flavor. The smaller ones are still a little bit sweet. They've got a tiny amount of spice to them, but they're not overwhelming. And they just taste better. Once they get to this size, they're just a little too big. But the leaves are good. We'll feed them to maybe the rabbits or something, give them a little treat. We've been doing that. Mostly sunflower leaves we'll give them as treats, but we'll throw a radish in there every once in a while. Seem to like it. That's a big radish. And then back over here again, I've laid out these stakes, but I'm not going to use all of them. I decided to do something a little bit different. But over here we have our peppers that are looking really good. They've definitely got a lot of growth on them. They're still short, but they've got a lot of leaves and a lot of blossoms and flowers and stuff. So we got a couple of them that are kind of laying over. That's the reason why I need to really get my string down here so that I can actually tie some of these guys up to it. And we've planted a couple more, and there's actually some dahlias down there in the middle of this row. My super hot's down at the very end, and then these are all my sweet peppers, tons of different sweet pepper varieties. They're planted really close together, but you know, I just wanted to put as many as I could in here. There's probably a banana pepper there or something of that nature. We've got some Hungarian hot wax in here, I believe these are. Yep. And some cayennes, I think. And then the first thing to actually make peppers over here was my cow horns, which I think are in the front over here. We've got a lot of different kinds of peppers. I like cow horns. Cow horns are a good amount of heat and flavor, but they're not overwhelmingly hot. And they grow huge, and tons of them on a pepper plant. So, but everything's starting to look good. It just needs to be strung up a little bit. There's a bell pepper, a little baby bell pepper here. So I'm using the foliar spray with them as well. I don't know if it's really going to do anything again, but you know, bell peppers and tomatoes suffer from the same blossom end rot for the same reason. It's a calcium either deficiency for some reason, or there's another reason. Somehow the calcium's not getting to the fruit from an early stage in development. Now that, I don't know what that is. It actually looks like a super hot or something. I don't know what that is. Let's see if this says it. It says touchdown. I don't think that's touchdown though. Truth is, we tried our best to keep these guys organized, but they're probably all mixed up. But that's okay. That's all right. Everything is going to be fine. Check out this corn though. Check out this corn. So anybody that's been following our channel has noticed that our corn really hasn't done too good in the past few years. I've always had spotty germination, or it's just come up weird. I think I burned them a little bit the first year. The second year also the grass overtook everything. This year I'm doing double rows of corn. Now, one thing that you notice is there is a difference between this row and these 3 rows, and they're the different kinds of seeds. Now, I'm not hating on Haas Tools, but I got these from Haas Tools, this row. And I got these from a local Amish, which is, these were treated seeds though, and the Haas Tools ones were not. So, I think that might be the difference, but I definitely did not get as good a germination there as I did over here. And I planted them a day different. I planted this one day, and then the next day I planted these. So there could be something there. But, I mean, they're still pretty good. I'd be happy, relatively happy with that germination. It's just not perfect, whereas these are pretty much perfect. I love this view at the end of the day because the sun comes through and you can see it through the leaves. So they're about tall enough now that I need to go ahead and fertilize them and hill them again. And I'll be doing that here soon. This is our peanut row. You notice there's no grass taking over at this time. Been trying my best to make sure I pull all the weeds out, and been just really adamant about it. And so they're looking pretty good this year. Our potatoes here, most of these red ones have actually already flowered. And some of them haven't, but most of them have flowered. And so they're just putting on potatoes right now. We got a few more weeks. We'll see if there's any in there. There's some cracking in the soil, which usually means they're building some potatoes in there like that. Yeah. there's some potatoes being grown in there. So yeah, they look good though. I did have a very small Colorado beetle, like 6 really early nymph stage Colorado beetles on here. I squashed that really fast, and I haven't seen any damage since. So, but it's getting a little warmer. It definitely could happen. Our white potatoes over here, I don't know what I can't remember exactly what they were. It's just regular old white potatoes. But they picked up, and now they're blossoming. They're a little bit later variety than that one anyway, so we should be able to pick those first and then this one second. But everything's looking great. Over here, I'll give you guys an update on our meat birds. So if you didn't notice, we built this new chicken tractor here for our meat birds. We got 21 of them in here. They're a Cornish cross. One of them's blind, which is interesting. That threw us for a little bit of a loop. But they should all be males. They may not all be, but they should all be males. But the blind one is actually doing pretty good for himself. You would think blind chicken would have some problems, and he does have problems. But he hears me when I put that waterer down. And over here we have a waterer that I built to help. It's just got this bucket here, and this hose goes down to it and feeds those waterers over there, which is what we'll normally use. But the blind one really likes this waterer because he got used to it in the beginning before we had this, and so now it always goes to the ground to look for water. So, but it'll listen for it. It'll I can't remember. I can't see where he went. He's in there somewhere. One of them. He might be over there drinking water out of it right now. Oh no, there he is right there. So you'll notice his eyes are closed. He's blind, so his eye, that's what kind of put us off to it at first. He's a little smaller than the rest of them, and I mean, obviously, given that he's blind, he's probably going to be, but he just seems to be acting like a normal chicken. Other than that, he finds the food just fine. He just kind of wanders around till he hits it and then just starts eating. And he'll wander around and find, he kind of has a layout of the pen, and it's actually pretty interesting to watch him figure it out. He's actually going to be the toughest one to kill because he's a survivor. So, but we got about 3 weeks on these guys, give or take. Some of them are, I mean, if you look at the difference between those two right there, it's massive. That guy is going to be ready to go. Some of them are definitely a little bit smaller. There may be some females in here too, but we're going to, in about 3 weeks, we're going to butcher some of them. The ones that are of good size. So you got, I mean, in 3 weeks, they'll be even bigger than they are now. They're pretty big. But they're doing good. Just moving them every day, twice a day, and giving them feed twice a day. And they go through it pretty quick. Just making sure they still have water and everything. And they mostly just lay around, and they're mostly bums. That's what they do. So we planted our apple trees, 3 of which are doing good, 1 of which looks like it may be dead. However, we do have this cedar rust infection on these small tomato plants, small apple trees. So they're going to have some damage from that. We have a lot of cedar trees over here, and so what ends up happening is it's kind of a symbiotic thing. The cedar rust tree needs an apple tree and a cedar tree, and it will basically form on the cedar tree as these orange balls, and then they will go over and find an apple tree, and they will infect the apple tree. It's not necessarily deadly for the tree, but it's definitely not healthy for it. So we've got to spray for that early next year. Once you've got it, it's not much you can do about it. But we're trying to put some trees out here, and something that's more perennial than this big garden we've got. Another thing over here, so it's hard to see, but that's a little fig tree. A little fig bush. All of them but this one. There's 4 of them that we planted, so it's kind of a mess. Last year we planted 4, only that one made it. Over winter it didn't look like it made it though, so we planted 3 more. Out of those 3, those 2 are barely making it, and this one is not. But this one decided it wanted to come back. And so it's not coming from this main root though. It's actually growing out of the root ball, and there's just another couple branches coming out of there. So last year it rooted in real good, and now it's going to try to grow a little bit, and then hopefully we'll get some figs out here. I would love to have some figs, but I'd love to have a lot of things. We'll see how it goes. One thing we are behind on over here in our watermelon plot is planting watermelons. However, because we fed the chickens so many watermelons over here, look at all these watermelons popping up. I want to try to actually save some. I'm going to cut this back and just let some of those volunteer up. But there's more there. There's actually a couple of tomato plants in there too, and a whole bunch of weeds. So we're going to get the little mower over here, and we're going to mow this down, and then I'll just cover around it, and we'll just let it go. We still have them started, our watermelon started. We just haven't put them in the ground yet. We need to bad though. So, I mean, that's about it. I mean, we're just out here just trying to keep up with things and make sure that we are keeping everything weeded for once in our lives. And then we got to plant some new stuff, keeping everything trimmed up. But we are focused more on just getting things, making sure things are clean and still good, than planting a ton of stuff and neglecting things. We've got a ton in ground, so it's not like we're not planting anything, but that's really our focus this year, is to have a clean garden more than a super productive garden. However, it looks like it's going to be super productive anyway. All right, well, that's an update from Homestead DNA, and if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and we appreciate you guys stopping by, and we'll see you on the other side. Bye.